we're looking to support our local indie bookstores and make sure that folks are aware of them, and not just right now in the middle of COVID, obviously, because business is so disrupted in so many ways, but more down the road as well. So just
Right.
for anyone looking to get an idea, a little bit more information about some of the great indie bookstores in Texas, that's what we're hoping to do with this brief
Great.
interview.
Great. Thanks for talking to me.
Of course. So the first question I would have for you is, can you give us a little bit of your background in terms of how you got to own an amazing bookstore and become someone in the book business?
Well, when I was in graduate school a couple of hundred years ago, I started a publishing company, 1988,
Mm-hmm.
called Host Publications. And we did, I ran the publishing company for a long, long time. It's still active in a different ilk, much smaller than it was at its height when we were publishing 4 to 6 books and a couple of journals a year, mainly of translation.
Mm-hmm.
But about 2005, 2004, something like that, I realized that I was enjoying book fairs and hand selling books more than I was really enjoying publishing books. I liked publishing books, I liked discovering the literature and things like that. But the idea of meeting with a customer and hand selling books and talking to them about literature, it really began to appeal to me more and more. In about 2011, I'm originally from Austin, and I'd relocated to New York for various reasons. I taught college up there and things like that. And then about 2011, I moved back to Austin. And I thought, okay, this is the time. Because I'd closed down most of my production office that was in New York. And I said, okay, I know Austin. I would never have opened a bookstore in New York. I don't know how I don't know how to do anything. I don't know anything about real estate, about rent, about commercial real estate, anything. It all terrified me.
Oh my
But
God.
I came back to Austin and I was like, I kind of know Austin. And so after looking around for a couple of years, we found a location. Becky Garcia, who's worked with me from the very beginning, she came on at the end of Host and then transitioned into helping me open Malvern, and she's been with me since the very beginning. We looked and found the space, and in 2013, we opened the bookstore. And that's kind of how I came about into it. And yeah.
I remember when the bookstore opened and somebody said to me, there's this great new bookstore. They have mostly only paperbacks. It's mostly either poetry or literary fiction or books in translation. They are working with a lot of indie publishers and indie presses. And, they're in this amazing location right by campus. And I thought, how is this even possible? It sounds
Well,
so magical, but it also sounds, how can someone do this in the year 2013? I think it's
I
so
thought,
cool you were
I
able
thought, in 2013, it's a very different time than it is now.
to.
But I thought when I was doing this that I was going to end up being a retro shop, like somebody who sold vinyl instead of downloading and things like that, because of the ebooks, and then but I decided that my niche would be that I would be set myself apart, that I would only carry small and independent presses, and I'd only carry, except for a small section, I'd only carry poetry and fiction. And lots, because I came from a translation oriented publishing house, I wanted to carry all the translation I could because I knew how great it was and how underrepresented it was. And
Mm.
so I thought I'd set myself off as in a niche that way, and that's where we've stayed. But that was the whole drive behind it. Was I went to the AWP every year and had a table, and I said, I want to open a bookstore that's like the AWP book fair. And I feel like I've moved in that direction a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully a lot smaller and a lot less like, makes you want to punch yourself in the face while you're walking around.
Yeah,
So book
exactly,
fairs are
exactly.
so big.
The thing is, Malvern is going to be there. You don't have to rush and get everything in 3 days or be scared that it's going to be gone, in two
Right,
hours,
right.
and you don't have to carry, 75 books home.
And, I feel like you guys are also unique in the way that you handle events or the sorts of events that you do, because it seems like, first of all, that you've become a real, the hub for poetry events in Austin. There's a lot of great poetry happening at Malvern. But then also, it seems that you give a lot of opportunities to indie authors and folks who reading series. I know I go every year when ACC has done their reading
Yeah.
series. I've seen the St. Ed's professors read. So it seems like there's something really special too, I think, about the way that you approach events. Can you talk about your sort of feeling about events?
Well, one of the things I did when I opened the bookstore was I wanted to have a lot of events. I wanted, just from a practical point of view, uh, I thought that that was the only way I was going to get people into my bookstore in number. I'd have the odd straggler every once in a while, but to get people 30, 20, three sometimes at into the store, I wanted to have events. And so that's one thing. I also knew that poetry groups and writing groups were running out of space. They didn't have places to meet. And they were getting pushed into the corner in a Starbucks and things like that. And then, in various other places. And so, and so I wanted to also to reach out to all the different segments of the writing groups in Austin, which I know are a lot. And so I don't just have the University of Texas, which we do have. I don't just have academics. I have people who started writing groups, and we did writers roulette with Teresa Robeson for a number of years, which was wonderful and very original and things. And we do other groups. We have book clubs that meet at the store, like the Finnegan's Wake Club meets there once a month.
Bless
and
them.
and it's I wanted it to be a community space in that sense, as well as a bookstore. And that's one of the things that's killing me right now. Is I might still sell some books, but it's not a community space right now.
Yeah. What are you guys doing right now? Are you selling on bookshop.org? Are you selling directly, or what are
We
you?
are selling on bookshop.org,
Mhm.
but we right now we're selling curbside.
Okay.
You can give us a call. We'll chat with you if you know you can ask for a book, and we'll give recommendations, things like that. And then you can go ahead and purchase it and then come by and pick it up, and we'll
Yeah.
take it
Yeah.
out to you. We don't feel comfortable having people browsing in the store yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that would be an extra challenge for your store, because you guys do seem to be a store that is that purchases, at least, I know when I walk into Malvern, I have no idea what I'm going to get. And
Right, right.
I'm not looking for a specific book because, if there's some book that I'm supposed to buy because I need to read it for some other reason, it's not necessarily a book that's going to be at Malvern. So
Right.
I'm going to Malvern to find these new treasures. And so yeah, it sounds like for Curbside to work, you really do need to be able to hand sell over the phone too, right?
Yeah, yeah, and that's a challenge. Uh, but that's very much what we are.
Mhm.
And that's the way I set up the store also with the amount of space that's in the store.
Mhm.
It's not a crammed bookstore. And that's not just because of the events that we have to open up the space for. But I wanted people to feel comfortable to sit down and look at things and go through things and not feel rushed or something
Mhm.
like that, that they could browse. Because the books that I have are unusual. You're not going to see, I will, I will pick a book sometimes. I'll call up book people and I'll say, hey, do y'all carry this book? And if the answer is yes, we'll go get it for you. I will not order that book because, I don't want to compete with them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you can get it at Book People, they get, it's a different store.
Mhm.
But my store is one where you come in and it's like you said, you find things that you
Mhm.
hadn't heard of, or one of our great salespeople helps you in a direction
Yeah.
that does that.
Usually I stand right by the poetry section during events, and then I just sort of browse while I'm paying attention to the event, and I end up pulling something off the shelf, and
Yeah,
probably more than one thing. So they're perfect for that.
but now we're doing a promotion where if you make a purchase from Malvern, we say, okay, do you want a poetry or a prose book? And no matter, you just tell us poetry or prose, and you get one free book.
Oh, I love it. I didn't know that.
It
Cool.
just started last week.
Okay.
And
Okay.
we're starting promotions like that, and
Mhm.
hopefully get the word out there. But it's all in the idea of you know encouraging people to give us a call.
Okay, so I've been asking folks three words you would use to describe Malvern Books that would describe the atmosphere or the character or what the community component of it, anything you want to use.
I would say that I like to think of us as a safe space. I think that's very important in times when a lot of groups and people feel threatened. Uh, that uh, that we're a safe space that people can just be,
Hmm.
not just with your reading group or something like that, or at a poetry reading or something like one of the ice cream socials, but it was amazing that after the 2016 election, people just came to Malvern just to be there,
Hmm.
and that made me feel really good. So I like to think of it as a safe space that people can be. I like to think of it as an open community that that we and and that one of the things in a negative, putting it negatively, I want to drive home that even though we're quote unquote a literary bookstore, we are not snobs. We love stories. We love books. We love things like that. It's not a snobby bookstore. And so I think we're very eclectic, but we're very open.
Yeah, I love it. Literary fiction, literary books can get down in the muck. They don't
Yeah,
have.
they can. We carry so much poetry that,
Yeah.
people see that and they go, oh my gosh, no, this stuff's all hard.
Well, and then I guess building on that a little bit, and I think you touched on this already, but I'm just wondering what you think of a bookstore's responsibility being. When you open a bookstore, it can be as simple as obviously giving people great literature or supporting writers and supporting readers, but what were your thoughts when you opened this store in terms of your own, what responsibility you were taking on?
Well, this goes back to the idea of a community space. That was something I was very interested in pursuing. And I think that the the open discussion of literature, which is the kind of discussion we have in the store. We don't have political groups in the store. I'm not going to have meetings like that or anything like that. But open discussions of literature, stories, poetry, art. I think that that is something that you can't have it enough of.
Mhm.
And the idea of providing the substance, the books, and then offering the space where people can come together and converse about that. I think that that was one of the big goals that I've had, and still working towards. Get people in the store to talk about the idea of, why do you read translated poetry? Just basic questions like that. Why do you read poetry at all? Let me show you these three, and or let me show you this book in translation, and let's talk about it a little bit. And it's that kind of widening of the mind. I think that's the an openness that I envisioned when I opened the store.
I've been a couple times to Troy Son's series that she
Yeah,
was doing for a while there, Borderless. I don't know if
yeah,
she still is, but that was really, I think, a special and interesting
yes, that
conversation that was yeah, that was really nice to find in a bookstore, because it wasn't necessarily focusing specifically on a book or a particular author. It was more a general conversation about the world around us, and with smart.
right, right, and she's just such a wonderful person, and she's so articulate, and she always has the most interesting guests,
Mm-hmm.
and they're very accomplished and they're very articulate, and that's those discussions are really, really worthwhile. She's kind of put it on a hiatus right now. She was kind of, she's very busy doing, I think she's writing another book.
Mm-hmm.
um, and and then the pandemic hit, of course nothing's happening, but yeah, I love that group.
Yeah. So and I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but so one or two, maybe one author or book that you personally love to see someone take out of the store, that you love to see sold, that you will keep, making sure is on the shelf, even when you've moved past many other books or titles.
The one of the ones that is the Irish writer Flann O'Brien. I
Mm-hmm.
am a nut for Flann O'Brien. At Swim Two Birds and The Third Policeman, whenever anybody comes in and buys wants a recommendation from me, you know, if they're into somewhat non-traditional narrative, then I direct them towards those books, because I love the Irish way of storytelling, and when they get humorous, it's just the best. And so those two books just always are. That's like a bedrock for me.
Okay, anything else that you would like to share or say about the bookstore? Anything at all?
Well, I hope to be around for a long, long time, you know, as Austin goes, you know, that's always a question. And
Mm.
you never know if I'm going to wake up the next morning and, you know, my bookstore is going to be a condo. But, you know, I I plan to be around for the foreseeable future. I want to get through the pandemic. I want to get back to book selling, and I want to have people in the store.
Mhm.
That's just my dream right now, is having people in my store. You know, just browsing, just looking at the books that I order that I'm excited about. I'm also, you know, I just want to keep doing what I do. As it's like, you know, it's like, you know, people come in my house and they see books all over the place, and I say, well, books is what I do, and I love sharing that with people, and that's one reason I opened the bookstore, and I want to do it again. And in sharing literature, sharing books, I mean, that's what I want to do.
That's awesome. Thank you so, so much.
Well, thanks for talking to me. It was a pleasure.
Of course, and we'll hope that we get to get back into Malvern sooner than later.
All right, talk to you
All
later.
right, take care.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.